Okay, guys, welcome back to part 2 as we dig further into the GRIDAlgo system. And here it is assembled completely. Now, I'm still on the MES, just this most recent week here. I've gone back to Thursday. Thursday, I believe it was the 10th of April. Now, I have everything, and I have all of the vertical lines here enabled. Now, to me, that's just too many. That's just too much noise. Too many lines. I don't want those lines coloring my judgment, right? So while they're optional, and you might find that one or two of these you like to have on here, my suggestion is initially start without them. So the grid momentum down here, we're going to get to this last. This does not fire any lines. We know, we looked at the lines from the bands, inside bands going outside and then back in. A few of the band-related hooks that we talked about. The EMA cloud and the grid alerts, as they're called in this system, these do trigger these lines, right? So you can see the cloud crossing or getting the alerts triggering the other direction. Again, it's too many for me. That's just too many lines right now. If you like them, keep them, but I'm going to turn them off. So bear with me a sec. So here's, I open it up here. Let's start on the EMA cloud. Well, first thing I'm going to do is let's turn off well, I want the color region. I want the vertical turned off. Now, if you don't like the vertical, right, the other option is you turn on the sound alert, right? That's if you want to be alerted to those events, which essentially that event would be the EMA cloud crossing. Now, it's based off of a 9 EMA, but it would be, it's not an exact. So if you put a 9 EMA on top of it, it wouldn't match exactly. It's much closer to a GAN high low. It's flipping from highs to lows on a 9 EMA, but it's based off of a 9 EMA. Again, this is default. You can play with this trigger, play with the trigger, play with the EMA setting, much as you'd like. This is a good starting point, right? Based on the creator's back testing of this. So I'm going to take those off. The momentum, the momentum into the grid momentum or grid momo does not have any vertical lines, right? We'll look at this in a little bit. This is more kind of a chop zone here, and then these are the reaction zones. We'll look at that at last. And then the grid alerts, these are an ATR based. You can think of it like a trailing stop or an alert to a trend change. These do have both alerts and verticals. I'm going to turn that off as well. So let me get these. I've got vertical off here. Let me get these off one sec. Okay, so I've turned now all of the vertical line options. I've turned them off, and I think this is just easier to read. I don't need a line to be drawn there to tell me that the EMA cloud is flipped. All right, so but again, some people might prefer, right? Particularly if you're doing some testing or you're running this through a third-party product like ASP and you want to use some of those hooks, that's very reasonable. So as we look here, again, I've gone back to Thursday because it was such a crazy day. If I compress here, you can see the range of the day is just absolutely insane, right? From here's the high to the low to the high. Here's we end the day over here. Again, this is just insane volatility, right? But for a system like this, that volatility can be a big plus, right? So you don't want to avoid the volatility. You want to lean into it, but a product like this can really help you. So of course you'll recognize, as we talked about in the first in the first video on the bands, that based on that volatility, this range, right, the 10%, we want price outside of the bands no more than 10% of the time. Well, you see that optimization has happened, right? So coming into this day, this day's volatility would not have been factored in, but now at the end of the day, we take the volatility that was created on Thursday and roll that into Friday. Remember, we optimize up to the last bar, and then there's no painting going forward. It's only based historically. So with that knowledge, a couple of nuances here. If and this is a key one. If in live trading you see an event like this where, okay, well, yeah, I know they're optimized historically, but as I'm trading here on the hard right edge, I see this kind of a movement below the outer bands, where I have, look, again, we have all of it. We have price out of the bands, we have the inner bands outside, and then we have the bands curling back in. We get the hook here. Well, one of the key little nuances here for entries to increase the probability of a profitable outcome is when you see the little triangles here, they're going down, down, down as the momentum is going down. The first triangle that we see that is above the prior, that's a good place to be considering an entry into the market. It's not necessarily tied to being back into the bands or anything with the inner bands. It's that first higher triangle. Oh, that's go time, right? And you can, again, this is not related to the optimization of the bands. From that, we go right to the mean, right? We go beyond, right? Here's a pullback. Right, we get an uptrend here that you might consider the EMA cloud as an indication of where's the short-term trend. Well, now we've got an uptrend. We get a little retrace. The pullback here, the retrace dot, you can think of it as a continuation. It's a pullback, a retrace in the direction of the underlying trend. So here's the trend, here's the pullback, here's the continuation of that trend. So you can think of it either way. Here you go again. We've got triangle, right? Now not a particularly good one. Triangle, 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 triangle. Here I get the pullback indicator here. I don't get a higher triangle here. So this is a judgment call. Okay, all of those conditions have been met. We have the hook coming out here. I don't get the higher triangle, but I get the pullback. So that might be where you lean on some of the other indicators here to determine whether you want to take a trade there. Now, remember the premise here. The premise is, from being outside of the bands, which we know, right, 10% of the time, we're going to be headed towards the mean, right? That's the premise, that we revert to the mean. Well, just as a trader, you might recognize the potential here. Let me get something to draw with here. We've had this big push, retrace, right? That would be a very reasonable thing to be looking for, because this trend now is certainly a strong downtrend. Now we're going to get to the mean and then head the other direction. That's an unknown variable, but that's where the inner bands here, the EMA cloud and the alerts here, as he calls them, would keep you on the right side of that trade. There's no indication from those internal indicators here that it's time to go short here. Quite the contrary, right? You just what do we do? We go from one edge of the bands all the way to the other. So those are ways that you can kind of use the additional nuance, the additional tools that are built into this system. In addition to that, of course, if I just grab some crosshairs here, the momentum is all up. We don't get, like here, we get outside and then the momentum starts to fire here. We get under we get the cross of the EMA cloud, we get under the cloud, we get under the alerts, which are an ATR, kind of an alert. It's almost like a trailing stop. You can think of it that way. We get that alert as we change direction here, come back. Here's the momentum. Now we're flipping. The momentum is going back the other way, which is, everything on the chart is showing you that. Now I know on the hard right edge, when you're right here, you don't know that, right? It's always easier after the fact, right? I'm very aware of that. But with that momentum sitting there right there, you have no indication. Oh, well, I'm back to the mean. What are we retracing and going back towards the other side? You don't get any indication that that's the right trade to take. We don't get a pullback. We don't get on the other side until up here, which is one of the huge hidden benefits here. I think this is really one of the real strength of this product in this system. It's designed to keep you in the trade longer. So it's very tempting. Oh, I got to the mean. Oh, I got to the mean. Right, I better take profit. You sure there's not? Right? I mean, now there's no knowing, right? There's no knowing on the hard right edge. There's no knowing. But is there anything here to say, oh God, I better get long. I better get out of this short. Here's the first little indication that maybe this trend is running out of steam. I'm now outside of the bands. I'm starting to hook, right? Now I'm getting indication here, and there it is. So are you going to get tick high to tick low? Of course not, right? That's not the objective. The objective is to get the meat of it, right? This is what you're after. This is what you're after. Now approaching this with, let's assume you're trialing and you're doing a little test run on here. Certainly, taking a partial profit at the mean, at the median, would be a good idea. Right, because you don't know, right? You don't that snap back, but as long as it continues to move in this direction, take a partial, right? So you should put something in your pocket, but let it go until you start to see signs that there's no. I mean, here, even if you were attached your stop to these ATR dots, right? You're out here as opposed to here. Take a partial, let it run. Let this take you out right here. You could do the same thing coming this direction. You'd be taken out here. Well, on this one, okay, you got your partial, right? But notice the difference here. We've got the EMA cloud crosses. We get below the ATR dots. Now, we didn't go to the lower bands. We continued on, but here's the bulk of the trade. This is why taking that partial at the mean, at the midline, good idea. Even if you took the partial here and waited, oh, maybe this will keep going, just like it did here. Oh, okay, I'm out here. Now, do I want to go in again right here at the mean? Probably not, right? Because there's no edge here. I'm at the mean, right? Next time I want to consider being short or long would be when I get outside of the bands. When I get outside of the bands, right? Here I'm breaking the dot, the ATR dots. I get an EMA cloud flip. First target, the mean. Second target would be the lower band. Anything to here, oh, I'm out here, right? So partial here, partial here. Then I get a little pullback indicator. So I think that's the way to approach it. Again, let me just pause and go back into open it up again. EMA cloud. A 9 EMA is for short-term trading, very effective, right? It's very popular. Many traders preach it, teach it. I would encourage you to start there. Give that a try. See how your results are. You want to draw arrows when we get crosses, but do you need an arrow to tell you it's crossed? It depends on the individual. Coloring the region, again, I think that just helps, right? Keep you on the right side of the market. Sound alerts or verticals if you need them, right? It's an option. Okay, then this is just coloring down here. The momentum down here, again, there's a little bit of secret sauce in here. Again, it's very hard to miss, right? What's actually happening. The thing I like about it is that if you get a little pullback here where you got a couple of bars, it might, might scare you out. It takes a lot to reverse this. And then you have the little chop zone here. As you see in the 33 to minus 30, that you got a little chop zone here, where if you're in this little pocket right here, you have no edge here, right? We have no momentum one way or the other. And then the alerts, well, that's a 9 period, right? So notice the emphasis to 9. The 9 period with a 2.7 ATR filter. That's what that is. You need to draw vertical when we get on the other side of it. Well, that's an option. It's an option. If it helps you. Again, that might be something you could use in a third-party tool or ASP. For me, it just annoys me. I don't want it influencing my thinking, right? That, oh God, right? Do I want to be in, out? Right? I got a line. I don't need the line. That's me. I'm saying if you do, have at it, right? You have that option. If you don't like the line, use the alert, right? It might draw your attention to something. This is the kind of thing that where, particularly with Renko bars, you got to be really careful of that. You can go through a grand here pretty easily, particularly if you're on NQ, MNQ, ES. Now note here, right? You're not. This is designed to keep you out of trading that. Yes, we have little pops outside of the inner bands, but we're nowhere near the upper. Well, we're near, but we're not getting outside, which is the big trigger you're looking for. You're not getting this right here, where we get outside of the bands. That's worth waiting for. Don't try and guess here. This kills more traders that are trying to trade Renko than anything else. Right there. Right. Oh, it's down. It's up. It's up. It's down. Very careful. Again, thus the interaction of the two bands is so key to only look to enter the market when you have an edge, right? Again, I understand optimized or not, right? In real time, that's not optimized, right? If you see that event in real time, okay, I want to pay attention. Do I want to take it here just because I'm outside of the bands? Well, maybe not, right? Maybe you want to wait until this bar here where I've had the EMA cloud flip. I've broken the 2.7 ATR dots. I've got a scalp to the mean, but I got a target to the other side of the bands. What happens here? All right, then the other side of the bands, right? And then we get into this, which you do not want to trade. I mean, any educator or someone who's a day trader with some experience is going to anything you can create to keep you out of that. I know it's easy after the fact, right? When you're right here, there's a retrace. It's going down. Oh, it's going. You get killed here. Careful, right? The whole point of a system like this is to only choose those high probability trades. Right, fewer trades, usually a good thing. You want you want fewer trades, more high probability trades. You don't want so many decisions. Do I take this? Do I not take this? This is very clear. Am I outside of the bands? Right now, I'm interested. If I'm inside of the bands here, I'm not interested. I'll do something else or look at another market, whatever the case may be. Okay, well, that should be helpful to you. I strongly encourage you to trial this product. Get used to it. See the optimization, then see the optimization going forward in real time. Pay attention when you see a dot or a line, or depending on what you've got turned on, when you see an EMA cross. Right here. Again, that's markets open, but you can see it's easy to look here. Right? Here's a good example, and I'll finish with this. And say, oh God, look at that trade. Why I would have missed that whole thing. It's true, right? You're not going to get every trade in any system. Where do we get the high probability trade? When we get outside. I'll get another one. When I get outside. Yes, you're going to miss all of this. You're going to miss it. You don't need to get every swing. You can aspire to it, right? But that the goal is, at the end of the day, are you profitable or not? Right? Are you comfortable with your trading? Was it repeatable? Was it something that you could review 6 months from now and understand exactly why you took that trade, as opposed to I had a hunch it was going to go. Oh, I had an EMA cross, so I took it. Well, what we're doing here is giving you that. Well, there's an EMA cross, there's an ATR break, there's inner and outer. We're giving you additional confluence here, so that you're only taking the highest probability trades. That's the entire point of the system. That's why we liked it so much. That's why we bought it, and that's why we are comfortable recommending it to you. Right? But trial it. Right? MES is a good place to start. MNQ also a good start. Right? You're likely going to want to use bigger bars, 30, 33, 50, 55, anywhere in that range for those bars. But understand that's a big swing in ticks, right? On the MNQ, right? 100 ticks is blip. Okay, guys. Hopefully that helps you. All of our tools are, I guess, reminder, available for a 7-day free trial. This would be, I think, one that would warrant a full 7-day history, right? To do some testing with it. Okay, with that, I wish you good trading. We'll see you on the next one.